Hello, good evening, everyone. Let's move on with this session. So we invited someone who knows about the subject, a subject matter expert. So the person that we invited is Chamila Mihiripanna. He's a senior architect at Virtusa, who is actually doing this, type of work. So Chamila, welcome. And I think you're on mute. Thank you so much for taking time off from your busy schedule. So the very first question that I would like to ask for everyone to get on to, to the same page. Let's start from the term data engineer. Okay, when you say data engineer, what's their role? What's the responsibility in a company?
Yeah. So with a lot of data and insight in the market, and people start using data now. So data engineer is the person who get, so in a company you'll be having not only one database, not only one system, right? So there can be many systems, and we can't ask management or the users to go to each of these systems and go and find out the insights, right? So because of that, we need to extract all these data single place, right? So that we can make that data meaningful, right? So that's where the data engineer comes, right? So that's where we are going to use data engineer. So what he or she does is they connect to these different systems, source systems, right? So they extract data using different tools, which I'm going to touch upon in a few minutes time. Okay. And we'll extract this data, we'll transform this data. So some of the data may not be meaningful as is when you're getting from system. So we need to make them meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, we need to transform. And some of the data may not be pure data. Then we need to do all this cleansing to make data meaningful and make data more readable, right?
Right.
And so there can be a lot of issues when you're transforming and when you're cleansing it. So all we need to solve these issues, right? And then we need to store this data, and we need to make them available for the users, and then we need to present this data to end users in a meaningful manner. So all those activities which I explained, from the extraction to presentation, right? All this is a part of data engineer's role.
Very good, very good. I think that's very clear. Now we come to like the main question in our webinar, right? How to get hired as a data engineer. Now I would like to relate this to your previous definition. Now you will have storing data, particularly, and that is the starting point, right? Maybe
Yes.
Databases and things like that. Then you would have to transform this data, cleanse this data. Maybe you do things like remove the data, and maybe probably include certain data which is missing, and then as you rightly pointed out, cleaning, right? Maybe cleaning and transforming that data. Then you move into this other area of using this data and trying to make meaning out of it, right? And then you go into the thing of, okay, how are we going to present it to the decision makers after that, right? So it seems to be like it's like a end-to-end process. In a small company, one person could do all these things, right? So then of course you can hire one data engineer, they know end-to-end. But companies like Virtusa and similar companies out there, are large companies dealing with millions and billions of data. So I'm sure there are many opportunities, career opportunities available at these end-to-end this journey. If you can just explain what type of specialties or specialists are available, then we can take the conversation to that level.
Yeah. So when it comes to data extraction, so we call it data ingestion, right? So and when it comes to nowadays, so nowadays we don't work with in isolation, right? So most of these data related systems, now are on cloud platforms, right? So essentially, we'll be working with most of the cloud related services. So it could be from Azure or it could be from Amazon, likewise, or Google. Likewise, there are many cloud service providers. So we'll be working with those services, right? So unlike those days, there won't be any on-premise databases or systems,
Right,
right?
right.
Right. But some of
So
the
you're trying to say these databases like SQLs and Oracles and all these databases now lies on cloud like
cloud,
AWS, Azure,
yeah,
Google, and whatnot.
yeah,
So so you mean to say that they need to now start, not only their like a laptop machine or something that they do at the at office, or not at office in the sense in their campuses or in the labs, but they need to have some exposure now working in the cloud as well. Is that what you're trying to say?
yes, exactly.
Yes.
So to know the cloud, first we need to understand what sort of a what are the types of cloud. So cloud, there can be many uh, types of clouds, right? So some may use cloud only for the as an infrastructure. Some may use it as a platform, and some may use it as a software, right? So those are different types that clouds that we can use. Uh, your database could be on an infrastructure on a cloud, and you may be using a service like a data extraction tool, which I'm going to touch upon, like Azure Data Factory, which is a PaaS service, right? A platform
Right.
as a service. Likewise, so you'll be more or involving in cloud services than you have your own ID on your desktop, and you'll be working on a locally installed software, right? Rather, you'll be most of the time you'll be working on a browser-based GUI, right? You'll be
Right. Right.
compiling, you'll be writing all your code on a browser-based UI.
Right. Now, let me ask a question. I'm sure the participants also must be thinking, is that when you mention these things like Microsoft's and Azure's and all these the platforms, they must be thinking, is it like costly? We are now studying. Sometimes people might not be having the luxury of going and paying and getting these things done. So what's can you answer that? Is it like a paid services, or is it like free that's available?
Well, if those majority of the services in a production level, yes, they are not free, right? You need to pay. But there are sandboxes, or rather systems that have been given for the people to try out and see how it works, right? So those services you can use it for a day, like, so they will decommission within a day or two, but you can spun up a service, and then you can try out different things, uh, and use their service and see how it feels and how it works. You can get a sense of it rather going through just a tutorial or a documentation.
Absolutely. So I think the very first thing that they should do is probably get a free subscription or something, right? I think the viewers, you must be already knowing, you're IT students. I think AWS, I know for a fact, since we work very closely with regard to training, that AWS as well as Azure, right? They provide you a 1 year free tier. Am I right, Shamil? I think they have been given a 1 year free tier account, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, with the essential services free, with some some number of hours being given. So I think your first thing should be, if you want to get hired as a data scientist, I'm always relating to the topic today, each one of you should pick maybe either Microsoft Azure or Google, or I think AWS. These are the three most popular ones. I'm sure the other ones are also there. Please go. Maybe you have to put your credit card, but they do not definitely charge. I know for a fact. I mean, don't again. I'm not going to take the responsibility if you have used expensive services, but you can definitely get a free tier account done. I think you have, what Chamila is trying to say is that it's extremely important that all of you all have a cloud account and you have gone into the cloud and know how the cloud is operating. And if anyone has a difficulty, you can later on ask a question. We should be able to help you and share you the links and how it's been done. I'm sure, being the IT students, you know how to figure these things out, right? Before Chamila moving into that cleansing and extraction piece, now let me ask now, most of these students will either come as an intern or as a fresh engineer, right? Join a company. So when you are looking at that cloud infrastructure, do they have any cloud infrastructure experience, exposure at the interview stage as a skill? What level are you looking at?
Well, so obviously for intern, we are not expecting an experience, right? So for an intern, we are looking at whether they have the interest to go and search things, right? As an intern, whether as a person who goes and uh, read about things. So we with that interest, we know that this person is going to go extra mile to learn something, right? For interns, of course, we do ramp up interns, and up to a certain level, we do allow them some time to ramp up. But at an interview, what I or we have checked for is that person's enthusiasm to go an extra mile and find out things, search for things, and whether he or she has read blogs, right? Whether uh, part of the communities. So when you go into these blogs and when you search for things, there are some abbreviations that we use, right? So those will get familiar. Right.
Can you explain a little bit? I think already you said SaaS and PaaS and all those stuff, right? The platform as a service, software as a service. A few acronyms, so our audience knows what are those acronyms and what are those jargon usually that they need to be knowing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So when those all days when we have our servers on the office, in the office, right? So we have our box, the server, right? It's a physical box that we have it on premises, right? So if you want to have that on the cloud, right? But you must be managing the software which runs, that is the database and all the other things, but you want only the infrastructure, right? So then you'll get the cloud service as infrastructure as a service, right? So that IaaS, right? Infrastructure as a service, right? So likewise, then you get the platform that DB is installed and everything is there, but it will run your queries and your stored procedures and your views and everything, right? So that's a platform. Likewise.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. So those participants, I think the idea here is, so there are terms related to it, because what they're looking at as a new career. So I'm sure there are some experts who's joining as well. But later on, we will discuss about those tags and all in a while. But I think you at the beginning, if you're coming for these interviews, you need to know what are those cloud providers, and they all operate in a similar way. So you need to know what is an instance. You may need to know what is a service. You may need to know what are those services are. Then, as our Chamila mentioned about various different levels of cloud, where it gives you as infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So these acronyms, abbreviations, these type of things you need to know. So and these are freely available. So please, if you want to be a data engineer, I know all of y'all must be doing sometimes generic degrees, and there are some set curriculums. Maybe at the time these curriculums were set up, some of these things might not be available, so it might not be updated. But that's why we are doing these type of tech talks, so you can actually get yourself prepped before you come to the to the interview, right? And it will get you stand out. It's all about standing out. Now today itself there are 1,000 people joining. Just imagine a company advertises for 10 interns. That means you will be competing with all these 1,000 students, or 500 or 600 who's trying to compete. So of course the person who is really standing out will be the person will be taken in by that company, right? Any company for that fact. And especially interns, they are selecting the brighter ones, right? Because they are the buds, right? Okay. Now
and also
sure.
some I want to highlight one thing when they're submitting their CV, and that's also very important, right? So
absolutely,
because I have seen the recent series that I have received, right? So there won't be a person who's calmly going through CVs one by one, right? So there'll be person who's glancing through these CVs, right, while he or she is working at office, right, or busy with other work, right? So you
That's
need to
right.
make sure you highlight your. So if you're applying for a data engineer position, make that languages or the services or what you know about data engineering, make it highlight, right? So sometimes when we want to find a person who knows, for example, Python, right?
Yeah.
So Python sometimes in some of the profiles or the CVs we have not seen Python is mentioned, but
Yes. Yes.
sometimes when we talk to these people, we find out that they know fair amount of Python programming knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so make give some thought to your CVs and
That's right. I think that is
make
also
those
we can.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I think that. Sorry for interjecting, but I think the participants, you need to know. You know this, right? In data these days, your YouTube videos to your post, everything is about hashtagging. Everything is about keywords, right? I think it's same happens now with CVs as well, as very rightly mentioned by Chamila. People are not reading your entire thing, right? I'm sure you are very happy to say that what you did in the school, you were a head prefect, and what you're doing in the university, you're playing basketball and all those stuff. I'm not for a minute saying that those are not important. That shows who you are. Those are also very important extracurricular activities. But when a technical person is going through their CVs, which is your first point of selection, I think the keywords that they're looking for should get highlighted. So for an example, as you very rightly pointed out, the cloud platforms or Python or any other tool that you have used like Power BI or Tableau or any other whatever tool that you have used, those are the things that you should highlight at a glance. People should be able to see them, and there are some lovely formats out there. You can even download a format saying like data engineer sample CV or data scientist sample CV, and you will see that first page how they basically mention those keywords. Thanks so much, Shamila. That was a brilliant point, and I'm sure that will definitely help your chances of getting hired. At least the first step of getting shortlisted for an interview.
Yes,
Right?
yes, exactly. So when
Yeah.
you shortlisted, then you can show what you have and what you know about these technologies and show. So when a person goes through your series, there's no third person to come and say, oh, I know this even though I have not mentioned this CV, I know these things, right? There's no voice as such. So your only voice is your CV in the first point of contact, right?
That's right.
So yeah. Yeah. So also, Sampath, I would like to share my screen and show the audience few pages where they could start.
Brilliant, brilliant. Lalita, is there a possibility to leave me out from the spotlight, and then while Samila is speaking to share the links, the screen, and then I'll come back after he shows the slides or the links.
Yes, Sampath, that can be.
Okay, thanks.
Please do let me know, Sampath, whether you can see my screen.
Yeah, Chamil, it's still started. In my, of course, it still shows that it's loading. Okay, now we can see. I can see. I'm sure the others would be able to see as well.
Yeah. So this is one of the. So I'll be touch upon some of the things that with on the Microsoft stacks, right? So there are various cloud providers that, as we mentioned, as well as there are various technology stacks, right? So it could be Microsoft, it could be open source technology stack, likewise. So here today I'll focus on some of the Microsoft stacks that our audience can use, and some of the resources from Microsoft that they can use to get start with, right? From their journey. So some of them may not be wondering where I'm going to start, right? how I'm going to what keywords I'm going to search for. So this is one of the good resource that I have found where our audience can start learning, right? So if you simply search for Microsoft Learn, then you will end up with this landing page, right? So this is a place where you can go to all the directions, right, that you can think of, right? So here I would say you go to Browseful catalog, where you have the full list of uh, sections, or rather uh, available roles. So you can view these learning materials, right? So as an administrator or as a data engineer, likewise. Okay, say for example, since we are looking at data engineer, uh, talking about data engineer. So if you filter it for data engineer, you can see wide variety of modules, right? So you can go for, right? So if you go to each of these, you can see the videos and step-by-step guides, right? So here you can see the taggings, right? As a beginner or as an intermediate, as an advanced user. Likewise, these are being tagged, right? Uh, yeah, so let me, yeah, so this is one of the very good resource that you can start. I'll randomly pick one and see, show how the content would look like inside. Uh, yeah, so there will be an interaction, and then, uh, yeah, so they'll give you the path, like how you want to go. And when you, yeah, so when you start, these are the modules, right? So introduction, right? And it gives you, I think most of them consist of videos explaining this particular module, right? And then you'll get the experience, right? So uh, you'll get stars when you complete these, right? Then you get your experience will accumulate as and when the more and more content that you cover, your experience will get accumulate, right? So this is one of the best or resources that I came across, right? Okay, so this is the place that you can start, right? You can browse and you can uh, do all the filtering and find the section, or rather the area that you are interested in, right? And I would say start with this and learn more and more uh, the time that you have, with the time that you have, right? Okay, so so, Sampath, I would like to explain the each step of a data engineer and
Absolutely, absolutely.
show them how each service would look like, right? In some of the service, I may not be able to show the live system, but I would show them at a glance in the on the web how it looks like, the interfaces look like, and what can be done, right? Okay, so I said first what we would do is we'll extract data from source systems, right? So uh, in the Microsoft world, we'll be using uh, a service called Data Factory, right? So this this is a service that provided by Microsoft, where uh, we use to extract data. Let me. Okay, so So what it does is it connects to different sources. So this is how the UI look like. All these UIs are loaded in your browser, right? So there are no standalone applications that you need to install. Okay. So everything you'll be doing, what I showed today, everything is on the browser, right? So you'll be creating a pipeline. Pipeline is nothing but a sequence of activities that you'll be doing. So that could be one activity will be connecting to a data source. Say for example, or Oracle database, or a SQL database, or it could be a ServiceNow application. Or likewise, there are thousands of connectors available. So you'll be connecting to one of those services using or systems using uh, their data factory, Azure Data Factory, and you'll be extracting that data, right? So you can write these data flows, data sets, and pipelines, right? So data set is when you extract data, from a system that comes to a data set, right? Then you can save that data set to either to a data lake, or you can push it to a different database, right? So this is one of the tools. Okay, so this is one of the tools that we can use. We will be Microsoft provides to extract data, right? So when or after you extract data, you need a place to put these data, right? So you could use, nowadays people are using Azure Data Lake, right? So it's a cloud storage system, right? It's a cloud storage system that we can use, right? So now those days we use databases, right? So databases we can store uh, a limited set of data, but here on the data lake we can uh, store many type of data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, all these type of data, right? So structured is like the data mostly on a database is like structured, right? So unstructured is like you when you get some data of, let's say, a Facebook a blog file, or a Yammer log file, or something like that would be very unstructured, could have unstructured data inside, right? So all those data types can be saved inside a data lake, right? So data lake, uh, yeah. So it's a storage system in the cloud, right? So then you put all your data into the data lake. Uh, let me move this one a little bit. Okay. Yeah. So you have a lot of documentation on data lake as well. So it has come from first generation to second generation, right? So people are now using the second generation of data lake now, right? So it has uh, many capabilities of a very fast read-write data transformation, transmission, right? So uh, yeah, so so then I said that now some of the data may not be meaningful uh, as is if we extract it from source system. We need to transform these data, right? So a good tool or good service that we can use for transformation is Databricks, right? So Databricks allow us to read data from data lake and do the transformation needed, and maybe do a curation. That is, you do a relationship between two tables. Two tables could be from two systems. It doesn't need to be from a single system. So you be joining one table from one system to a table from another system, right? So to make data more meaningful. So Azure Databricks is one of those tools, transformation tools, uh, that you can use. So it has its own clusters. What it does is when you give him the job to perform, it breaks those jobs into multiple pieces, right? And it assigns those pieces to different clusters. And those clusters has the responsibility to do the job and bring them back together again, right? So I can show the interface. This is this is the interface. Again, it's on the browser, right? So there's no software that you need to install. So all these on the browser. So you have your compute. You can specify the power that you want, compute power, and the clusters. And in the workspaces, you can you can work. Uh, you can do your notebooks. They call it notebooks, right? So and these notebooks do support multiple languages. So initially the notebooks have written in a language called Scala, but it does support many other languages, like popular languages like Python, right? So you can write Python, uh, not like those days, right? So when you write a code in those days, you write code in single language, right? Guess what? This tool does support multiple languages, right? You can write the top part of the code using Scala, middle part using Python, and latter part using SQL, right? All that is possible, right? So there's no limit. So learn all this and search for it, right? So there are so many interesting things uh, available there which you may not know, right? Okay.
Right.
So
One thing just wanted to ask is that I think you're going through the Azure, which is the Microsoft stack, right, Chamila?
yes, yes,
Yeah, I think that a little bit of an understanding for our participants that there are many stacks, and probably the
yes.
most ones in demand are what? Then I think they can probably pick and choose. I think probably at least two stacks, then they can actually get themselves exposed, Chamila, in my view.
Yeah, so Microsoft is one of the popular ones, and they evolve very rapidly. I'm not saying others are not, right? So with my exposure to Microsoft Stack, I see them evolve very rapidly. And since these are services on the cloud, the very next day you'll see more features coming up here because you'll not be installing anything on your local machine, right? So everything runs on the cloud. All these services runs on the cloud. So you see next day when you come to this UI, you see new features being added, right? It's very seamless. And there are open source stacks as well, right? So there are many. And yeah, so based on the company that you work with and they intend to work with, their services may differ. So since my exposure is mainly on the Microsoft stack, and I would like to explain more. So the people are aware. So similar services with different names though are available in other cloud services, right? So when I say uh, uh, Azure Data Lake in Microsoft, it it can be S3 bucket in Amazon, right? Right, likewise. So it may be different names, but similar services are available, right? So even in open source, similar services are available, right? So see, similar technologies are available. It's just that they have different names that they call. Okay, so yeah, so another service that we use is a Key Vault. Uh, so Key Vault is those days we enter passwords and we save it on the server, and sometimes the browser remembers our username password likewise. But when it comes to cloud, it's very more secure, right? You can't have your password lying around, right? So we use a service called Key Vault, right? So it's a vault where all our keys and all our password reside on, right? So we'll be using a reference number or a key from Key Vault as a password or a password, right? So all our exact string, password string resides in this Key Vault. So it's very secure, right? Okay. So now we have extracted data, we have saved it on a data lake similar service, and we have transformed it using something like Databricks, right? And we'll be authenticating using uh, password reside on key vaults likewise. And then comes uh, the data warehousing and then analysis service where people could connect and do the visualization and get the insights, right? So all this time we'll be getting data, transforming it, cleansing it, saving it, and make them secure, right? So yeah, so then for these, so we can use.
Yeah, I think you're breaking up a little, Chamila. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Now it's fine. Now it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So for the data warehousing perspective and for people to come and do the analysis, right? Uh, the Microsoft have services like Synapse Analytics, right? So Synapse actually, when it comes to Azure Synapse consists of many services, but Synapse Analytics is the Azure data warehouse, right? The new version, right? So uh, it allows people, so it has terms like a serverless pool, dedicated pool, likewise. So these are technical terms that you can search and find the meanings, right? And we can use these serverless pools without having without having much cost, and we can use these serverless pools to connect to data lake and retrieve data. So even though the data lake save data from the systems as files, right? you can simply write SQL queries and retrieve data from data lake using Synapse, right? You just write normal SQL query, select asterisk or select whatever the columns that you want, where from a that file name, right? Where a condition, right? Just simple SQL query, and it brings up the data from data lake, right? You don't need to open a file and write code to identify the keywords or things inside those files. That is long gone, right? You simply write SQL queries, right?
Sure, sure. Chamila, sorry, I just need to interject. I think in the interest of time, I think this definitely gives a hands-on kind of hands-on kind of a view to the participants, where they need to go and what they need to do, and rather than just talking about what we are talking about. Thank you so much for this. I think in the interest of time, I would like to move on. Do you have some few more to show, or should we?
Yeah, just
yeah.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Sure,
I'll
sure.
quickly run through a few sections where people could get good information on. So
Yeah.
there's another side for Azure architecture. These are actual reference architectures. So you must be wondering, there are so many services. How I'm going to use it? How do I know which service to use for which purpose, right? So that's where the Azure architecture or the reference architecture that comes in, right? So here also, when you click on this, you'll go to this browse architecture where. So they have so much of reference architectures list down here for you to go through and identify a good architecture for you. So then you can get a understanding on, say, for example, when it comes to analytics, I'm quickly going through due to interest of time. Say, for example, if you want to build up a modern data warehouse, so this could be the place that you come to. And yeah, let me say, okay, let me type yeah, data warehouse, search, and yeah, yeah, say let's take this one. Yeah, so this is one of the reference architectures that you can yeah, so this shows how, right? So you are getting the data from data factory, right? You'll be storing a data lake. You'll be using Databricks to process, right? There are many other Spark clusters, Spark available, right? Then you'll be using your database in Synapse, right? And you'll be using Power BI, a presentation tool, a very comprehensive presentation tool. Okay, so you can use the same Databricks for your machine learning, for data science. So all those are being referred. Say keywords are there, right? So when you want to do discovery, you can use Purview. Likewise, there are many services available. So if you don't know what service to use where, you can refer these reference architectures and find out the best way to do it. And it has best practices as well. Yeah, Sampath.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chamila. Lalita, you are going to be off the screen sharing, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chamila, I think. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Am I audible? Sorry. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, Sampath.
Okay. So I just want to ask you, I mean, thank you so much. I think that's what matters, right? So audience, you just saw, the real links and where you can go into, and also maybe if it is the terms and the jargon was not very much comfortable at that point, don't get overwhelmed. I think our team, our campus reach team, as well as our campus, the recruitment teams, will share with you these these links, and I can see already it's been shared on the on chat, as well as this discussion is getting recorded, so you should be able to obtain it from cloud, and we will try to put it on web and YouTube as well, so you should be able to basically replay and maybe get some of these content that Chamila was showing you, demonstrating. Chamila, because we have a little time, I want to again ask you, there is something which is coming up about Python. Because Python and data science and data engineering goes hand in hand, right? I mean, every time I see this, our recruiters saying having Python knowledge is definitely an advantage. Now, I want to first ask the question. I think a lot of undergraduates these days, and also the experts are these days learning, even though their first language is Java or C. They now learn Python as their additional language, and it's a very easy language also comparatively, it seems. But now if they want to get hired as an intern again, as a fresh data engineer, what level of Python knowledge that they need to have, and how can they come and show that they're capable? I know that sometimes certain individuals come with their GitHub, right, show some of the projects that they have done, and I know some portfolio that they have done, and in the interview they show, hey, this is what I have done, this is the portfolio, these are the type of coding that I have done, like that. So there are two questions in my ask for you. One is, at what level they need to know to enter into a data engineer job, Python that they need to know, what level. Second, how can they come and show that they are capable? What are the modes and methods of impressing that panel that they are really good at this?
So we normally interview. We check to see whether they know about data structures, right? Whether they could show us few samples of how these data structures, how to when we name a data structure, whether that person, he or she, knows about the data structure, and probably a sample code snippet, right?
But sorry to interjecting again. I want to clarify, because we wanted to make sure. So when you say data structures, is there like specific data structures that they are that you all are like focusing on?
No, the basic data structures available in any language, right? So likewise, Python has its own data language structures. So basic ones, we ask how do you normally data structure, as well as an array, or how do you write a loop, right? How do you loop through array and find out how do you order elements in an array? Likewise, so very simple ones. So other ones are mainly, we would like if people could go through data engineer specific areas of Python, right? So Python has its own different vast variety of packages. So there are like pandas and all, which more relevant to data science. If the person could do some homework and go through some of these pandas and PySpark like areas, that will be, then we know that this person is interested, right? This person can go an extra mile and help the company while in an internship, as well as he or she is going to learn a lot and add a lot more to his or her career, right? So those are the people that we want to give opportunity and groom, right? So they are the people who go, like I said, go an extra mile and make a difference.
Absolutely. So again, I'm just paraphrasing. So know about Python, but just like you learn any language, not just the syntax, but you probably need to have a very good understanding about your data structures, and maybe some algorithms, and maybe even things like object orientation, those concepts, the fundamentals that you learn in your probably the first 2 years are definitely going to be tested, because those are the foundational knowledge that you need to know. And on top of that, you can learn about all the other things, as Chamila said, maybe about pandas or scikit-learn or NumPy, or if you want to go on the Google stack, you may be having things like TensorFlow and Keras and various other kind of libraries and APIs. But sometimes we have this habit of these youngsters, Chamila. They'll want to learn a bit about everything, right? They'll learn about blockchain, they'll learn about TensorFlow, and then they'll learn a little bit of Python, and then something. So that's all scattered, and there's no problem. That's called the breadth. Knowing about it, that means your curiosity. But then again, the foundation, what is Tamil is saying is your foundation is really important, because when you know the foundation, when you have that foundation, any tool or any new thing that is coming, you should be able to easily grab it. Is that right? For an example,
That's
I think when you say
exactly.
like a race, when you say a race, like maybe it's an array, right? I know long time back I did my computer degree, but if it's an array, so even in a TensorFlow, you will have an array. They will call it a tensor, whereas in a NumPy also you will have an array, but they will call it a NumPy array. But at the end of the day, you're talking about an array, right?
Those basic building blocks goes a long way. If you have the correct foundation and a strong foundation, yes, we can apply it in many languages.
Great. Before I open it up for some questions, I want to ask one last question. Now, we spoke all about what are the technical skills that you need to know when you're getting hired as a data engineer. So the first thing is your knowledge about cloud is a must. Second, as Chamila said, at least knowing about some basic the tools or services work in any of these platforms based on your stack. Some experience, not high level of experience, at least an exposure. At least you know what's happening. At least you know that the workflow is definitely going to help you. Third, knowing knowledge about Python is important, and also the fundamentals of an object-oriented language is very much needed, including the things like data structures we mentioned. Now we're coming to the third one, or rather fourth piece, Chamila. That is, what are the soft skills? Are you all only looking at the technical skills? Because people say, hey, do I need to talk like English like in perfect manner to get hired as a data engineer into one of these companies? Number two, they all talk about soft skills, and some people don't even know what you mean by soft skills. They all say soft skills. But if you can just pick few things and say in an interview, your first, of course, in the CV, you will look at the technical aspects mostly. And then when you come to the interview, you will check their technical knowledge also. And the third one is any soft skill related things that you're looking at in an interview, Chamila.
So in an interview, we normally look at how the person communicates, right? Whether he or she can clearly communicate, whether she could understand the question clearly, how the manners, whether that person excuse, and if the question is not clear, whether she questions. Sometimes when you question someone, the interview goes silent, right? So she may not, he or she may not understand the question, but they are not questioning back, or they are not asking for us to explain a little bit more, right? But the person tried to figure it out himself with the portion, or he or she understood, right? So I would ask that people to want that person to question back. Can you please explain a little bit more? Is this the part that you're asking? Or likewise, so get it clarified, right? So don't assume things. Get it clarified, right? Also,
That's right.
Also, when you're working in a company, you are not working in isolation, right? You're always working with a team, right? So when you're doing your assignments, right, group projects, right, work as a team, right, that experience is very much important, right? So even though you're a very technical savvy and you know everything, but if you can't work with the team, then the entire team fails, right? So that's very important. You work as a team, right? So you need to delegate tasks. You need to help each other, and you need to uh, clearly know what's been assigned to you, and if there's a dependence with another person, to communicate with that person, and uh, to sort it out likewise. So work as a team is very, very important, right? So
So in the communication, I think Chamila, the communication you said, I think the participants, what Chamila was trying to say is like, even if you don't understand something, I can see some questions coming. Even if you do not understand something in the interview, maybe it is because you are not very clear about the question, or maybe maybe the interviewer didn't ask the question in a clear manner, or maybe you have a difficulty in understanding the language. It's perfectly all right. You question back. And even I would say, Chamila, because we are not hiring people for English language, even if they are unable to understand that in English, you can even ask from a comfortable language that you are. Anyway, our interviews, most of the time, these companies do it in English, but you can always say, can you please explain me little, again, can you explain me that? Then I can answer kila. Because your most important thing is to show to the person that you are very technically savvy, talented, skilled person, right? And maybe the other things we should be able to improve when you start working. That's the first thing. And the second thing you mentioned is very important, that your team working skills. Now, Chamila, I have asked this question from many others also. They say positive attitude. They always say that person did not have a positive attitude. Attitude is not good. So how do you gauge somebody's attitude while you're interviewing a person for a job?
Yeah. So the way he or she speaks, right? So and when some people directly say, "No, sir, I don't know," right? So that is also one way of communicating, saying that you don't know that area. So some people don't say anything, but they struggle, and they take time to see whether they could come with some answer, right? And yeah, so some say that if that person does not know the question, they say I could go to this place and find out the information, and I can try out these things and I can learn, right? So that's positive attitude. Even though you don't know, but you're willing to go that extra mile and learn and contribute, right? So
absolutely,
those are the points that we are looking for when we are doing an interview. Yeah.
And then there is a saying these days, you normally say, I don't know it yet. Right? but you can always go out there, because there's enough content out there. Maybe that's true, because you may have not heard about something. Now these days it's not about knowledge, right? Everywhere you can get knowledge. It's about whether you know a word or whether you know a concept that needs to go and search. It's a matter of searching. But now it has become the other way around. Knowing what to know is the more important than kind of knowing it by heart, or already knowing it, right? So I think it's a fantastic point that Chamila brought up on the soft skills aspect of it. So I have some questions coming in on chat. So some are asking about let me go again quickly. Yeah. All right. Yeah, most of the things we have actually we are basically we have covered. So some are asking about whether they need to know like any mathematical knowledge. Do they have to have high level of mathematical knowledge, or do you think that there are any professional qualifications that we can do on data engineering like that? So what's your take on that, Chamila?
Yeah, so mathematical knowledge mainly, I think, involves it when you're doing a data science, when you're doing working with models and come up with different stats, right? So there you need statistics knowledge. Yeah. So when it comes to data engineering, you'll be more into working with data and transforming, and you'll be knowing the concepts of data warehousing and what type 2 data types are, and merging, inserting, those kind of things will mainly go with data engineering.
That is a very good question. Like it says, is there a difference between a data engineer, and actually we completely forgot. They say big data, right? I'm sure they're asking whether, is it a completely different subject, or is a big data is also coming under what we are talking today? Are they also data engineers?
Yeah, so mainly the big data consists of both together, right? So for even for the big data to give the analysis, you need data engineers to bring the data in, and store it, right? So then only you can use these big data analysis and come up with insights, right? So yeah, so it's a so it's a two parts, but data engineers mainly work with data from the extraction to the point where we have data warehouse and store data for insight purposes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think also I just want to add a point there as well. Now, see, we are working with data. So the data could be limited amount of data, kind of somewhat large data like you are finding in an organization in normally structured databases. And also students, it could be, or participants, it could be like big data, means like large, high velocity, high volume data that is coming in. But we are still talking about data. Only thing is probably the tool set that you use. What you use for limited amount of data, the tools that you use versus big data tools differs. So it's about the tooling. And of course, there are, because of the scale also, there could be differences, because you need more power if it is big data comparative to a lower number of kind of data set that you're talking about. But the thing is, it's hundreds and thousands of tools that you find these days. So if you're going around these tools, you'll never be able to finish this. So I think, Shamila, you can elaborate this. I think it's about, at least if you know some key things, as I think Shamila already mentioned, knowing a SQL data, what is a SQL database, or knowing what is a NoSQL database, maybe getting experience into MySQL or SQL or something like MongoDB, or maybe in between, you, as he very rightly pointed out, knowing Python, getting in these, even a CSV file or something being uploaded into one of these things, and using a library, analyzing it. Then maybe use Power BI, or maybe use Tableau is a more of a paid one. I think they have a free version as well, but I keep on hearing Tableau and Power BI. But I think Shamila mentioned Power BI is been used heavily, and I know heavily, as a person who's recruiting, all the time they say having Power BI knowledge is definitely going to help you. So Python, Power BI, SQL, SQL, these we keeps on getting, my dear friends. So because of that, that I think those things you need to focus. And cloud, as Shamila spent a lot of time, and cloud. So keep these four as the key things if you want to enter into this. One person is asking, are you only taking interns? No, we do. Our company, actually this program is for everyone, anyone. It could be for any degree, or anyone can apply for any company. That's the purpose we are doing this, not only for our company, but talking from Virtusa's point of view. We give like 120 interns per year, at least on average. So every quarter we are actually taking about 30 to 40 interns. At the same time, we recruit closer to 500 first entry level engineers. For last year it was 300, because we had this COVID things impacting, but in Sri Lanka still we are the highest recruiter in Sri Lankan context, right, in our country. So but that is not only data engineers, that is of course the other tracks as well, like these days you have QA, and then you have software engineering separately, and then you have infrastructure related kind of jobs. I'm just talking on generally. And also we are taking some consultants and also architects, mostly as lateral hires as well. So if anyone who's interested, I'm sure, please keep looking at our website or our LinkedIn feeds or our social media handles, in the sense of feeds. I'm sure you should be able to get these opportunities, right? Yeah, I think we are almost over with the budgeted time, but I think we are getting in a lot of questions. Let's spend another 10, maximum about 10 minutes, and then probably close this. So we are saying, what is the risk moving all the data to cloud? Yeah, of course, I think, Chamila, just keep that in mind. They're talking about, moving the data into the cloud. These days, they're telling that some data in our Sri Lankan cloud, with regard to the Minister of Health, is now vanished also. So people must be having problems with that as well. What kind of skills expect from interviewing, expecting, looking for a data engineer intern? So we have already covered that during the session. I'm sure if you join later, you should be able to go back with the recording and get that. They're asking about whether the Python package, knowing about the Python package is helpful for getting hired. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
What is the difference between ML engineer and a data engineer? Maybe they're talking about the machine learning.
Machine learning, yeah.
Yeah. And let me also go, so many questions. And right, internship period. Okay, that's a good question. See, two things I want to tell about internships, and then I'll go back to Chamila about the other two questions. That is, if you are looking for an internship, people are looking for internships. We have even told this to government, universities as well, because they have 6 months internships, but they're very helpful for us to kind of, work within their system and provide that additional 6 months. But 12 months or 1 year is the minimum if you wanted to learn something. So I think everyone should look for a 1 year internship. An internship is not for you to just come and ask people like Chamila to sign a kind of a logbook, and so you can go and get your degree. A lot of people think I am coming to the internship because the reason is because I'm going to tick this and get my degree because it's a requirement. Remember, I would say internship is the most important thing, because that's where you very first get 1 year of experience. You can very nicely go and tell any person that have 1 year experience working in this company, right? And working for a large company like us, you can always, or similar companies, you can always go and say, hey, I have worked for this company. It is a global company, and we have been working with a global client, with global products, and immediately you stand out, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, you should work really hard. Right?
Yeah.
You should never get isolated, right, Chamila? If you get isolated, only you should get problem. Sorry, go ahead,
during
your
internship, you'll be working under pressure, right? So you'll be given a deadline, right? You'll be working with your team, right? So if you fail, your entire team fails. So you have a responsibility. You'll be working with different methods of delivery. That is, nowadays we are using agile, right? So you'll be following the agile methodologies. You'll be participating in the Scrum meetings. You'll learn how to give an update during daily Scrum meeting, right?
Absolutely.
You'll learn lot of things in the industry. So that'll help you to grow, increase your career, right? At a very high level. So it's just not just a sign like Sampath is signing and do something and go back, right? You get a lot of exposure, right?
Yeah, so, and I think Chamila, you just mentioned, right? Now that is also, evolving. Now we work in these different methodologies, just like what you mentioned, Scrum and Agile, and everybody must be in the university learning about Agile and Sprint and all those things as a theory.
Yeah.
But I really don't think that you will really get that exposure in the campus, because they are not in a real production environment. When you come as an intern, you are actually working as one of the employees. Actually, you are an employee of that organization. So you are in a Scrum team. You will be having those, the user stories or whatever to be delivered. You will be taking part in Scrum meetings. You will be doing that, daily stand-ups and telling about your stuff, right? These are the things that is going to make your career strong. And we are a large company, as you know. So obviously, we recruit people, and some of these people, now we also have a problem, after about maybe 18 months or 24 months, because of course the organization is such that sometimes, not everyone can immediately, grow faster than they think, but they sometimes move out to the industry. But that's perfectly all right, because the reason is we are looking at a larger ecosystem. If all the companies are doing well, if all the companies are providing internships, and if our talent pool is getting developed, of course, we can contribute to the market, and same way they can contribute to us as well. So we look at that big picture view, right? I think the most important thing as students you need to do, One other thing, Chamila, I want to say, sorry, I'm taking a little more time because, in this pandemic era, you're having a golden opportunity, because we see in the industry has not gone out of business, where most of the other industries are finding it difficult, right? Our numbers are growing, business is growing, so many IT companies are growing, and also there are so much of opportunities out there. The problem that we don't have enough people, right? We have a lot of jobs, but we don't have people. It's the same with the industry. So all of you all who are joining today, who are enthusiasts or you are currently studying, so you are sitting on a golden, opportunity. If you tackle this well, I'm sure you would be able to contribute to our dollar reserve problem also, in a smaller way, by expanding this, the industry. Chamila, last few comments I wanted to get from you. I can see so many, people are sending questions. I might not be able to handle this, but everybody's asking, can we get the recording? So they are asking again about, are you looking at the GPA? Are you looking at your academic scores, and so many other questions. But I would like you to sum up. Let's again go back to the summary. Our heading is how to get hired as a data engineer, right? If you, in few sentences, if you can summarize for today, all right, if you are applying or if you are looking for a career in this, 1, 2, 3, these are the three things or 4 things that you need to do as a summary, then we should be able to actually close the session.
Okay. So when you're applying for a data engineering position, right? So now you know what sort of things that involve, right? Keep that in mind. Get your CV up to date with the information. Highlight the sections which related to this data science, right? And do little homework and freshen up your knowledge and find out things, the newly emerged things, right? So that'll help you when in the interview to explain and to show your interest, right? And yeah, then everything will be seamless, I guess. Yeah.
Sure. And our recording, I just got the recording, would be uploaded into a YouTube channel. And then we will share with you probably by tomorrow or latest by Monday to everyone who has registered through that registration link. So Tilan, who has been sending emails to you all through the campuses, will share with you the recording as well. So you can go back again and rewind, and then maybe get leisurely grab some of these things. And because of the interest that we have seen, as I told you, there were now at this moment also we have nearly 650, even it is late in the evening. But when we were starting, we had about closer to 1,000 people joining. Seems like there's a huge interest about this. So we are going to have like Chamila, we will invite Chamila again, as well as few others who have expertise in cloud, expertise in data visualization, expertise in Python, and we will continue to do this probably every other week. And please look into this opportunity, and your participation is why we wanted to basically do this. Because you are interested, we love to do this for you, because it seems like you want to learn, and it's our duty to do that. And in turn, we also get benefited, because when you get groomed at the campus level itself and come back to us, we need less time to teach you and groom you, because you get groomed at the university and come here, right? Thank you so much. I know there's soaring questions. Maybe we have not answered each and everyone's question. So that is because of the time. But we have taken like common themes from each of these from the chat box and ask these questions. So let me thank all our participants, and especially NSPM, for us for providing this Zoom ability of doing it for a larger group, because usually we use a different platform, but they sponsored for that, as well as all our campuses, the public as well as private campuses, who basically echoed our tech talk and actively wanted the students to take part. And also finally, last but not least, Chamila, who's our subject matter expert on this. actually only given 1 hour to cover the entire life cycle of a data engineer is not not possible, and that was anyway not our intention also, just to give you a little bit of interest, a spark. So now today you will go and start kind of exploring this is what we were expecting. And thank you again, the recruitment team, campus recruitment team, as well as the talent development team of Virtusa for organizing this. See you again in a similar tech talk, and please pay attention to our communications. Thank you very much. All the best and have a great weekend. Be safe.